All right. Okay, we're live. All right. Welcome and thank you for attending our first virtual student orientation. Sorry for the delay here. We had some technical difficulties. This is our first time doing our virtual student orientation. My name is Jose Castillo, and I am the Director of Operations at Bert Charter School. This will be one of several orientations we'll have this month and next month in June. Our next student orientation will be Thursday, May 28th at 6:30, and we'll be using the Crowdcast platform as well. We usually host our orientations in April, but the current crisis has pushed our timelines back, and schools and parents and communities are having to adjust to our new normal. And so I want to say thank you for your time this evening and your patience and continuing to support our schools. Okay. Bienvenidos, padres. Gracias por su paciencia. Estamos teniendo unas dificultades con la tecnología aquí. Mi nombre es José Castillo, soy el director de operaciones con Bert Charter School y le quiero dar las bienvenidas a nuestra orientación hoy, esta noche. Este va a ser uno de varias orientaciones que vamos a tener este mes de mayo, igual en junio. Nuestra siguiente orientación va a ser el jueves, el 28 de mayo a las 6:30 de la tarde, y vamos a invitar otros padres para que puedan asistir. Siempre tenemos nuestras orientaciones en el mes de abril, pero con esta crisis va a ser muy difícil para nosotros, pero vamos a seguir con esta información para nuestros padres porque sabemos que es muy importante y queremos seguir con el proceso de inscripción. Okay, so les quiero dar las gracias por su tiempo esta noche, con su paciencia y siguiendo apoyando a nuestras escuelas de YPI Charter School y Bert Charter School. So to give everyone a quick overview about tonight, we have invited families. You should have received an email from us with access to our major policies. And so these aren't all our policies, but our major ones. And in the email, you'll have a list of these links and access to the policies, as well as 2 Google forms. One that's a checklist, letting us know, yes, you have read our policy and acknowledging you did access and read it. And also an after-school interest form, which is really important to us in our partnership with Think Together. So our orientation today will be generally a review of the policies and answer any questions you may have. Tonight, our really main goal is to introduce you to what we have to offer, some of our policies, and continuing with our enrollment process. And around the first week of June, you will receive, we will continue with our enrollment process through Schoolmint. Our enrollment forms, we have a few that are getting rolled out and prepared so that families can go ahead and submit this information through Schoolmint. And so, so around that first week of June, we'll be sending out communications about our enrollment form, and which will help move us along this process. And so padres, todos que están invitados esta noche deben recibido un correo electrónico con información de las pólizas que tenemos. Estas son las pólizas principales, no son todas de la escuela, pero queremos que nuestros padres tengan acceso a estos pólizas. Igual en el correo electrónico hay 2 formularios, uno que es una lista que nos dice que sí ha leído los pólizas, y luego otro es de parte de nuestro programa de después de escuela. Es un formulario de interés, si están interesados en nuestro programa de después de escuela con Think Together. Y nuestra orientación generalmente va a ser, vamos a repasar nuestras pólizas, hablar con padres, contestar preguntas que ustedes tienen. Y su enfoque y la meta es para introducirlos a estos pólizas, contestar sus preguntas y seguir con este proceso. Okay. Y luego, durante la primera semana de junio, van a recibir, vamos a seguir con el proceso de inscripción por Schoolmint. Es cuando van a estar listos estos formularios para que puedan poner su información de emergencia, más información sobre sus estudiantes. So, nosotros les vamos a mandar más invitación y a notificarles que ya están listos y ya como padre pueden empezar a poner su información por SkillMate. Y nuestro equipo van a estar disponibles para ayudarles si tienen preguntas, cómo lo hace. Siempre vamos a estar aquí disponibles para ayudarles. Okay? So, ya con eso, now with that, let me translate. With that, I want to welcome everyone. We have 2 breakout sessions, and we've decided this is our first time doing it, so we're going to get some feedback and see what we can do differently for our families. So when our next student virtual orientation is, it'll be even better. So we really appreciate you being here. We have 2 breakout sessions based on language preference, and so this will be the current English session. The left will be session 2 for the Spanish breakout room. And so I think this will be a good time for us to go into our breakout sessions. And I did want to allow folks and families to go ahead and go to your preferred session. And so in these sessions, we have a presentation of some of our policies, and we'll have a conversation with families about anything that we have presented today. And so, padres, ya vamos a seguir con nuestra sesión y orientación. Este sesión, ahorita lo que ven es la sesión 1, y va a ser para padres que tienen la preferencia de recibir la información en inglés. Y en la sesión 2, aquí en la izquierda, al lado izquierdo de la pantalla, pueden hacer clic a la sesión 2, y eso va a ser para la presentación en español, donde la señora Gámez y la señora señorita Orozco le van a ayudar con esa orientación. So, les voy a dar unos minutos para que puedan entrar a su sesión, y si tienen preguntas, ¿cómo lo hacen? Aquí le pueden hacer clic por cualquier pregunta en el chat, ¿ok? So, en 2 minutos vamos a empezar con la sesión. So, in about 2 minutes, we'll give everyone a chance to get settled into to their breakout session. Okay, so we're going to get started on our English session for our student orientation. And so again, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jose Castillo. I'm the Director of Operations at Bert Corona Charter School. And with us, joining us in our breakout session is Ms. Heredia.
Hello.
Ms. Heredia is part of our office team, and she's wonderful to work with. And so she'll be our chat monitor to see if there's any questions on the chat. And so I'll be doing the presentation, and she'll be cueing me, letting us know that there's a question, and then we'll go from there. All right, so here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Ms. Heredia, can you see my screen? No. Okay, let's do this. Okay, now I got to share my screen. Here we go. First time doing this, second time. All right, here we go. Oh. All right, let me do this. All right, can we see it now?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get started. Again, welcome everyone to our new student orientation. Um, so a couple of things, important note, dates. We are scheduled for our first day of school on Wednesday, August 12th. And so that's when our scheduled first day of school is. We'll be sending out this information to families, but I wanted to put that on your radar, families, that Wednesday, August 12th is our first day of school. The schedule, the daily schedule, is still yet to be determined. We are seeking direction and guidance from the California Department of Education. We are exploring different schedule scenarios, just like other schools. And so we'll be informing parents, obviously, when that information is readily available. But just kind of wanted to put that out there first and foremost. All right, families will keep you posted. Um, okay. So our goals and objectives for today's orientation is that we want parents will be able to hear about our grade level experiences, want them to be able to understand some of our major school policies and understand what's expected for the upcoming year. And so please keep in mind, parents, this usually how we do our orientations are based back in prior to the pandemic, talking about field trips and um, sports. And so what we know currently is that those have all been put on hold. And so today's orientation, I'll be able to talk about our fifth and sixth grade experience. That's obviously going to change in the fall, but I kind of want to give an overview and just really dive into some of our policies and hear any questions you may have. All right. And so our fifth and sixth grade experience, and so at Bert Charter School, we have a small class of 25 students in fifth grade. And so our teacher is Miss Bravo. She's a wonderful teacher. She really loves her kids. And it's amazing how the fifth graders on campus are like our little brothers and sisters. And everyone is looking out for them. And, it's kind of funny to see them interact with the rest of our middle school students. So our fifth graders and we try to provide the best experience as possible. All our students have access to one-to-one laptops, and so there's a curriculum that Miss Bravo does, and she just does a wonderful job with them. And so usually in our orientations, we talk about um, the fifth graders of having their own schedule, and they certainly do have their own schedule. What's different is because we have 5, 6, 7, and 8. Our fifth graders and eighth graders usually have lunch together, and so in this current scenario with the pandemic, lunch is going to be a little different, and we'll let everyone know. But the main point is, our fifth graders fit, um, nicely with our middle school students, and so it's a group of 25 students, and we're all looking out for them. We all know who they are, and so it's just a pleasant to have them with us. And so our sixth grade um, is our bigger class, of course. We had about 120 students in sixth grade. In sixth, seventh, and eighth, we have our capacity of about 120. Um, and so we're still accepting applications. So families, if you know of anyone who still is undecided or wants to apply to Bert Charter School, please do so on our website. We still want to encourage and still need actually 5 through 12. All right, we do have our high school, and so I want to be able to mention that our sixth graders, we have a great team of sixth grade teachers, and Mrs. Beltran, Mrs. Spoden, Mr. Walter, and Ms. Contreras. And so they do an awesome job in just making sure that they set the tone for our middle school students. And so they're just a pleasant to have as well. And so parents, diving into our policies, one of the first policies that we sent was the grading policy. And so in this policy, we focus on our grades. And one of the things you will see first hand is our grades, right? We have grades A, B, C, and you'll notice missing is the D. We don't believe in having a D, and so we do have an F, and so it's something that you'll notice different in our grading. But what's most important is our approach. We do have a standards-based mastery grading approach, and we want our students to show mastery in the standards of their grade level and content areas, and so it's different from a traditional approach at schools. We've been doing standards-based mastery grading for several years now, and so what we're finding is that students are showing mastery, and we're understanding where they actually are. And so our teachers have been fully trained in standards-based mastery grading and continue to be trained to find ways, how can we support our students for them to show mastery in the grading levels. The thing you'll find in that policy, information about formation, we do have a culmination that we normally do, and an 8th grade one. I'm sorry, do we have a question?
You're breaking up a bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Heredia. Culminations. We have 2 culminations normally in 5th grade and in 8th grade. We do. It's part of one of the reasons why those 5th graders are special. They also have a culmination, and so at the end of the year. But in the policy, of course, it tells you eligibility for culmination, and so that's really important information for our families. In 8th grade, it's not required to participate in the culmination, and so you do have to be eligible. And so, of course, in our current situation, all large gatherings have been put on hold. But I did want to mention that in that policy, it does outline eligibility for culminations. And also it talks about competitions in sports. We really feel that our sports programs are important. They help keep our students on track, right? Our students with either Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 needs. And we really believe it helps with our the social development of our students. And so in the grading policy, it talks about eligibility for sports and field trips, as well as eligibility to promote for the next grade, followed by our grading and our honors and merit GPA percentages. All right. Any questions? Are there any questions, Ms. Heredia, you see?
Question so far.
Okay, all right. So you're going to be my eyes and monitor the chat. Our next policy was our textbook policy. And so I do have to say, our schools are having to figure out how textbooks are going to work out for students. And so I'm just going to talk in general of currently what we do have, and we'll be able to inform families what a textbook distribution is going to look like, if any. But the policy itself is that families are responsible for our textbooks. We did buy a new set of curriculum last year in math in iReady, and it came with textbooks available in the classroom as long as the workbook with our students. And so we do want to encourage our families that our students need to be responsible for their textbooks or any reading books that they check out. And so again, there's going to be a new process for that once we find out more information about what that's looked like. But I just wanted to talk in general about our textbook policy. Any damages to books or even computers will result in payment for damages, and we'll follow up with those families as necessary. Okay. Any questions regarding our textbook policy?
No questions.
All right. Moving on to our contraband list. This is probably one of the important ones on a school setting. Middle school students, they will bring the darndest of things on campus. And so, on that list of contraband, it's a lengthy list that you got to see. You want to highly discourage any caffeinated or any drinks on campus, permanent markers for obvious reasons, and graffiti. We do discourage makeup on campus for our students, and that's popular amongst our students. And so, as well as any aerosol cans, it can be flammable. Drugs and alcohol and tobacco, of course, you're at a school, and any gang-related affiliation. Those are things on our contraband list, and just kind of wanted to talk in general. They're kind of the same contraband list that you find in most schools, but do want to mention these, of course. Moving on to our uniform policy. Let me see. All right. So our uniform policy, one of our also important policies that we have at Bert Charter School. What you'll find at our campus is that each grade level has its designated polo color. And so in fifth grade, our fifth graders, they have a gray polo, which you probably saw me earlier this evening. I was sporting the fifth graders. Really love those guys. And so I have the gray colored polo. Our sixth graders do have the white colored one. Not very popular for parents for obvious reasons, but it's the one we have for our sixth grade. Our seventh grade is the light blue one, and our eighth graders have a darker navy blue polo. And so we do have this uniform policy with tops, and of course the bottoms need to be a navy blue pant or shorts or skirts, but it does have to be a navy blue. And so going back to the uniform top, really for us in terms of campus to be able to distinguish, if a student is out of place or in the wrong designated area, whether that's an eighth grade, a seventh grader, or fifth grade or sixth grade, it really helps us to identify the students by grade level. And so, again, we'll have to reach out to our families and let them know when we'll be selling in this environment our uniforms. That's a logistic that we have to think through to make sure everyone is safe, as well as prices. We can send that information a little later, but those are some things to consider. We do have designated uniform colors for each of the grade levels. Okay, and on the polos, they do have to have a BCCS and YPIX logo on it. We do have college logos that are acceptable on designated days. On Mondays, it has been acceptable in promoting a college-going culture that we want our students.
Mr. President, we have a few questions.
Okay. Let me finish this, and I'll answer any questions regarding this. Okay. So awesome. So the college logos are acceptable in shirts on designated days, and we'll let students know that. And jewelry, the small earrings are acceptable. You'll be surprised. There are often times when I have to tell our students that I need earrings that you can wear on Monday through Friday and not Saturday and Sunday. And so, of course, the Saturday and Sunday earrings tend to be a lot bigger. And so I have fun with the students, but just for safety reasons, students can wear earrings, but it could be small earrings. And hairstyles, extreme hair colors or styles are not permitted. However, I think that needs to get updated with some recent legislation around that. But in general, that was our uniform policy and dress code. And so it sounds like we have a couple questions. You want to read the first question, Ms. Heredia?
Yes. When can we purchase the uniforms, or where do we purchase them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so Normally, we do the purchase on campus in a couple rooms. And I think we had a system last year where it worked really well for a whole week. Families came through a designated time to purchase the uniforms. They also filled out the meal application, which is very, very important for our school. And so, however, those logistics are going to have to change in our current environment. So we're going to have to inform our parents like what that's going to look like for this year because of the pandemic and the stay-at-home order. So we will let our family know once we figure out what that's going to look like. But in general, what it has been is that on a designated day, there are designated hours. You come and purchase. You fill out a meal application in addition to that, and then you go on your way. But that, of course, is going to change. And so we'll let our families know when and also pricing.
And
So
then
another question? Yeah.
2 more questions.
Okay.
Are hoodies acceptable?
The question, are hoodies acceptable? We do have a rainy day policy where hoodies are acceptable. We actually have designated sweaters with hoodies, and so that's obviously acceptable. But in terms of sweaters with hoodies in general but they have to fit a criteria. And I think they're listed on the uniform policy. What I didn't share with families is our rainy day policy, and it tells families like, yes, you can wear a hoodie because it's raining, and we're a little bit more flexible with that. But please see the uniform policy dress code. There is a section about hoodies. I think they need to be a designated color. I just can't think off the top of my head.
The next question is, so for 6th graders, only white tops and sweatshirts only with school logos?
For 6th grade, it is a school uniform polo that it'll be white, and it has to have the Bert Corona Charter School logo and the White Pix logo on it.
Those are all the questions we have for now.
Okay, great. Great questions. Thank you for that.
Castillo.
Okay.
Can 6th grade wear jeans?
So jeans are also part of our uniform policy that they cannot. What we are noticing is that with recent dress trends, right? You got the stretchy fabric, and so we want to discourage that. It's discourage it. So we really want to encourage navy blue pants and not jeans. And so every year we have issues with this with our students, and so parents, we really need your support in this. Navy blue pants is where bottoms is shorts or skirts are acceptable forms of dress bottoms. All right, awesome. Okay, so that's the uniform policy. It's what we usually, in dress code, we usually get a lot of questions around that. Electronic devices. And so we have this in our policies. We need to let families know that we're not responsible for if a device gets lost or stolen, cell phones or cameras, what may have you. We are a no cell phone use. We have a no cell phone use policy at our school. That has really helped us kind of not deal with so many social media issues, although even it is an issue that comes up for our students, but students are allowed to have a cell phone on them. It must be turned off and put away in their backpacks. And so we can't have students taking out their cell phone and responding on social media during recess or lunch. We do have a designated area towards the end of school near the front of our office, near the after school area, where students can use their cell phones freely to call home. That's an acceptable and designated area and time to do so during after school. But during the day, they're not allowed to take out and use their phones. if a student needs to use their phone to call their parent for whatever reason, during the day, they need to ask for permission. And so what I often guide students is like, look, Mr. Castillo, can I use my cell phone? I need to call my mom to see if she's going to pick me up later on today after school. That's completely acceptable. The student has asked for permission from an adult. They're nearby me while they're making that phone call or text message. And that would be an example of when students can use their cell phone during the day because they, one, have asked an adult permission, and two, they're in close proximity to that adult.
Sorry.
It sounded like we're getting a parent phone call right there. All right. So that would be when students can use a cell phone, they have to ask for permission. And so if and when, because this does happen, students try and be sneaky and like try and go in the restroom and use their cell phone. We find out about this, and so the device will be confiscated. And the first or second time a parent can receive the and pick up the phone, the parent must after school. The third time, our Office of Student Culture and Climate will hold it for about 30 calendar days. And so I think that's outlined in our electronic devices, the confiscation part. But what this really, one of the main reasons we have it is that, one, inform parents that if your cell phone is lost, we're not responsible. We'll do our very best to help the family and try and figure out if another student has it, but we're not responsible for it, one. And two, if students are using their cell phone without permission, it will be confiscated. So in general, that's what that policy is all about.
Mr. Castillo, before you move
Yes.
on, I have one more question.
Sure.
Actually about dress code. They're asking if dresses are allowed.
Yes, dresses are allowed. I think they have to be navy blue. Is that correct? Although we've seen a couple of beige ones.
No, they're navy blue.
Navy blue, yeah.
With their polo under.
That's right, navy blue with their polo. Okay, great question. Thank you for that, Ms. Heredia. All right, moving on.
Someone's asking if it's their signal or if the call is cutting off for other people.
Oh, for me?
She's asking. I'm not sure.
Oh.
You're not being cut off right now for me.
Okay. All right. If Ms. Heredia can hear me, maybe it could be the parent whose signal.
Okay. I think it might be her.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, parents, if I'm cutting off, please just let Ms. Heredia know in the chat, and then I'll see what I can do. I had to kick out the rest of the family because we were doing this presentation, so hopefully this will work. Our parent media release, we do have our parent media release. We do ask for permission from parents to either give authorization for us to use pictures to promote our school and promote our grants, or not. And so that's totally up to you parents to decide. We have created our Facebook page, and so we really want to promote our school on our website or on Facebook. We do have an internal channel in Slack where we're doing celebrations about your students, how well they're doing in class, how well they're doing in Ms. Bravo's class or Ms. Contreras' math class. And it's really helpful for us to be aware of all the great things happening at Bert Corona Charter School. But to promote it outside of us, we want to ask our parents for permission for that. And so that's what that form is about, our parent media release. And so parents, you will inform us and if yes, we can or not. Okay. Our attendance policy, really important attendance policy. We do follow California ed law in this, and students do need to attend school until the age of 17. And so right here in this policy kind of gives you a breakdown of how we track absences. 3 absences we consider 1 truancy, or 6 absences equal 2 truancies, 10 absences, 3 truancies, and for every truancy after, right? And then 15 absences. We are requiring conferences. And so this is something that we have to be better at. We know every family and situation is different, but we really need our students to be in school and in seat. And of course, in this new climate, right, with the pandemic, how schools are taking attendance is different, and so we have a lot more challenges ahead of us. But we'll continue to communicate with our families about attendance. But our students, at the end of the day, we need to follow ed code, and our students need to be learning and need to be in school. And so this policy talks about our current attendance policy, and we'll be informing parents about when we approach school, what that's going to look like, and how we're going to be taking attendance in this new environment. Our emergency policy, this policy kind of gives an overview of emergency departures, right? Later in the month, I had mentioned that in school month, we'll have a few more enrollment forms available for our families. Our emergency card is going to be one of them. And so when it becomes available, you'll be able, as a parent, to list all the emergency contact adults and contact numbers on that list. And so in the event that there is an emergency where your student isn't feeling well, or you has to get picked up by an adult who you've designated, that person must be on the emergency card. If they are not on that emergency card, we cannot release them and will not release them. So that's really important, parents. When you think about who you're going to give access to pick up your student, you need to put that person on the emergency card. And that may change over the course of the year. And of course, as long as you update us and let us know, hey, Mr. Castillo, I need to remove this person from my emergency card, or hey, Mr. Castillo, I need to add an additional person to our emergency card. That's perfectly fine. You're communicating with us, and it's on record. Okay. Emergency information, should your student be sick, we will provide immediate care for your child. And then the school will do its best to contact parents or whoever's on that emergency card. And so this policy outlines those steps for families so that you're aware. And of course, in the event that there's an emergency, please know, families, that every month we will be doing emergency drills. And so that way our students and our staff are aware of our emergency evacuation procedures. And so this emergency policy gives an overview of that.
Mr. Castillo, we have another question.
Okay.
What time does school start, and how has your school prepared for the health and safety of our children the new school year?
Yeah, great question. And so prior to the pandemic, we started school at 7:55. That's when the bell rung, and at 8 o'clock, students need to be in seat for their first period. That is going to change, right? As I mentioned earlier, we are seeking direction from the California Department of Education. They're giving guidance to schools. We are exploring different schedules. And so we will be informing our parents about what those schedules will be looking like during the year. And so all schools are having to prepare. And so we are exploring those options. In terms of campus safety, absolutely is at the forefront of everyone's mind. And so we are again seeking guidance from the California Department of Education. And they have given some guidance to schools and that we're taking a look at. All schools are preparing. We are making orders from new furniture that we have to purchase, additional supplies to help make sure that the rooms are clean. We're looking at various things that you can think of just to make sure that our campus is safety, that we're following CDE guidelines and CDC guidelines of 6 feet apart. And so our team is working diligently on this, and it's no easy task. But we will be informing our parents once we have more information to share. But I can guarantee you that we are looking at this, and most schools are. Is there another question?
No, not right now.
Okay. All right, that was a great question. Adult visitor policy, again, this policy is in place for all visitors. When they do come on campus, they must sign in, and should they wish to stay on campus, they have to have a visitor's badge. We do encourage our parents to visit our classrooms, and of course, this policy may change as we get more information from the state about parents coming on campus. Again, it's related to the question about campus safety. And so as we receive more information, we'll be informing our families. But prior to the pandemic, this is our policy, that if you come on campus, you just got to sign in. If you want to stay on campus, you have to have a visitor's badge. If you want to visit one of our classrooms, which we highly encourage to do an observation, you can do so. We just ask our parents, of course, to not be disruptive. And our parents have been really great about this. And so one way to kind of observe their student in their class. And so this policy outlines what that is. Again, though, I have to say that this policy will probably change and to meet requirements and guidance that we'll be receiving from the state. And of course, it's all related to campus safety. And so once we kind of flesh this out, families, we'll be able to let you know, okay, this will be the way in which you can, for example, pick up your student if they're sick and so forth. Okay.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Knowing how important attendance is, if a student is sick, will it count against them anyway?
So in general, I want to say that we'll have to follow our general guidelines for attendance. Like if there's excused and unexcused absences, for example. If your student is sick, right, this is going to be the challenge, of course. Because if your student is sick, what we've asked is, all right, take them to the doctor, get a doctor's note, bring the doctor's note, then it becomes excused, right? If there's a funeral, that's another example of excused absence, or if there's a court appointment. Is that right, Ms. Nadia? A court appointment is another example. Unexcused is if a parent said, okay, mijo, you're not feeling well, maybe you should stay home. Probably a good call, but that's unfortunately unexcused. And so this question about absences in this environment is going to be tricky, but in general, there is a difference between excused absences and unexcused absences. So it depends what type of absence it is. And so parents, we're going to give you more guidance because right now what we know, if you have to go visit a doctor, is probably over the phone and you're probably getting screened and so forth. And so this is a great question, and schools are kind of having to figure this out. But in general, this is what I will say, that is there's a difference between unexcused absences and excused. Is there another question?
No.
All right. All right. We do have a before and after school program. Our partners with Think Together, they run our before and after school program. And so I'll be able to talk about this a little later at the end of the slides. But in general, we do have before school procedures. And of course, I'll talk about it in general about what it is. And then this policy, of course, is going to change too, because as a parent, you're going to need to have a schedule. Your student's going to have a schedule. And again, we're exploring these. And so this procedure will change, but I just kind of want to introduce what it has been, is that students are dropped off inside our parking lot at the drop-off and pickup area inside the JACC, and students who are walking to school usually enter through REMIC. But of course, these procedures are having to get changed for not only our school, but all schools, to making sure our campus is safe. And so there are conversations about having multiple entrances for students and designated areas, other designated areas to drop off. And so we'll let our families know once that information becomes available. And of course, our after school pickup is similar. It has been prior to the pandemic at the drop-off and pickup area inside our parking lot. And if your student is in after school, they are to report to their after-school classroom. And so that's the general our before and after school procedures. Parent responsibilities is one of the links that we provided for our families. You know, it's a partnership, and you see that even now in our environment between school, parent, and our community. Even more so having to work together. And so we at Bert Corona Charter School are going to do our absolute best to make sure our parents have the support and our students have the support that they need. And so what's important in all this is that our open lines of communication, and this policy outlines the importance of that, making sure our parents are supporting us and making sure that their students attend class and turning in their work in this environment, right, where we're using a lot of virtual classrooms. Google Classroom is our platform. We're a Google Suite school. And so this policy outlines our parent responsibility in this, supporting us with behavior, attendance, and the safety of our students. And so again, this is just your responsibility as parents. We see our parents as partners in this middle school experience. And so we're right with you, parents. And so we just want to make sure that we have open lines of communication. And our parents have done a really great job of being able to let us know, hey, Mr. Castillo, I'm concerned about this, or Mr. Castillo, can you help me with my child? They really need support in this area. And so it's a great partnership that we continue to have at our school.
Mr. Castillo, another question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It says, my son will be starting 5th grade. What sports or activities does the school provide?
So in general, before the pandemic, we had various sports. We had flag football, which was also co-ed. We had volleyball. We had girls and boys basketball. And we had girls and boys soccer. And so those were some of the sports that we had available to our students. But, you know, in this current climate, sports in general, right, have changed, large gatherings. And so we'll be following the California Department of Ed guidance on sports if schools will be able to have sports. And so, and, you know, sports, like I mentioned, are a big motivator for our students to continue to do well in school. And it also helps with their social development. I'm a big sports fan myself. And so, you know, schools are having to adapt. And so we'll be informing our families of, yes, we'll be having a sports program, or informing them, you know, according to the California Department of Education, we cannot have sports at this time. So we'll let you know. As 5th graders, they participate in our Pop Day events with their sports. I've had the pleasure of kind of helping see the kids play during their lunch supervisions. And so, you know, those are some examples of sports. For our younger ones, we've had have them be a part of our teams in some capacity, either a practice team or as water boys or water girls, if you will. But, you know, our 5th graders are always encouraged to join our sports teams. And so, again, parents, that could change based on guidance from the CDE. Okay, a great question. Was there a second part to that, Ms. Olivia?
It's just one.
All right. Okay, so parent, I go with parent responsibility.
Sorry, Mr. Castillo.
Okay,
there is
go
a
ahead.
second part. She's asking about art and music.
Oh, yes. We do have art in our after-school programs. Music has been like a club in our after-school program, but unfortunately at this time we haven't incorporated it in our day programs due to, you know, budget constraints. And so that's one of the things. I'm a former musician and love to play music, and so Unfortunately, any music classes is through our partnership with our after-school program. They have some really great activities and for our students in clubs, including art, and they're very creative. And so our after-school program does help us in that area, in those two areas. But during the day, unfortunately, we do not have a music program.
How or where do I sign my student up for the after-school program?
Oh, great question. On the email that you received, there was 2 Google Forms. One that is a checklist that informs us that, yes, you reviewed these policies and you acknowledge accepting them. And there was another Google form that says after-school interest form. And so it's highlighted in yellow in that email communication that we sent out. I know Mr. Bradford put one of the Google Forms on Crowdcast. But if you go back to the email that we sent out, it's highlighted in yellow, and that interest form is really important for Ms. Sepulveda, who is our after-school coordinator, and she'll be reaching out, giving information to our families about our after-school or before and after-school programs.
She actually just provided a link on the questions and answers chat where you can fill out the form.
Awesome. Okay. All right, so moving on to PE uniforms. We do have PE. Every 6th, 7th, and 8th all had their own designated PE time. And so with exception to our 5th graders, and our 5th graders love to run around and they do need that time. But they didn't have to dress out, but they did have some time, I think, in their class to kind of do, it was like a second recess, if you will, for them. So, but in terms of PE uniforms, we did have 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders all purchase PE uniforms. There's a top and bottom. And again, when uniform information is available along with the pricing, we'll be sending out that information to families. So 5th grade families, you don't have to worry about purchasing a uniform for PE. It's just 6th, 7th, and 8th grade as well. All right, we're almost done here. Student celebration policy, we just want to inform our families of this. We always want to celebrate our students, but we also want to make it inclusive. And so reasons to celebrate, some of our teachers or our staff will celebrate our students for academic achievement, or that we're seeing some improvement in their behavior. And these are great incentives for our students to continue to be active citizen scholars. And so we always want to celebrate our students. A couple exceptions, expectations for the rules of celebrations. We don't want to do it during instructional minutes or during lunchtime, and that celebrations must be inclusive. And so just general information for our family. We do want to make it inclusive as much as possible, and we don't want other students to be left out, but just some general overview information of our student celebration policy. And then this is the question about after school. We have a great partnership with Think Together, who is our provider for after school programming, expanded learning programs. And so right here is when you see a schedule. Before the pandemic, this is what we had. We had an early call time at 6:30 to 8, Monday through Friday. Our after-school programming was looking at right after school, so about 6:36 Monday through Friday. And we were also providing Saturday Academy for our families, students who needed additional support in areas of ELA or math. They would come on campus from 9 to 12. We were there supporting, and it was a great partnership with our after-school program. They did an awesome job of providing field trips for our students. You kind of see some really great pictures, a collage that Ms. Sepulveda, who was our after-school program coordinator, put together. And so, you know, we're going to continue to partner up with them. We are having a conversation about a pre-summer program in June and possibly July, and a summer bridge. These are things that we normally do prior to our closure. So we're in the works of planning these out, and we'll be getting information to our family. And so if you're interested in our after-school program, please make sure to fill out the Google form, interest form for after school. That informs Ms. Sepulveda that, hey, I'm interested in this information. How do I sign up? She'll reach out to you and give you all the necessary forms that you have to fill up in preparation for the next year. Okay. And that's the end. This is our last slide. I wanted to see if you have any questions. Time for Q&A, questions and answers.
I don't see any other questions.
Okay. All right, parents. Some next steps. So some next steps for you parents. The first week of June, like I mentioned, you'll be receiving communication from the school, from School Mint. And School Mint is going to, in School Mint, you'll be able to fill out some additional enrollment forms, some information that we need from you. And that'll be able to, we'll be able to use that information to upload it to our school information system. We're currently getting those forms prepared in School Mint. And so by around the first week of June, you should have those information, the forms being sent to you, and we'll make sure to message you that yes, the forms are now available. Please fill them out. We will have staff available if you need some support with that. But in this new environment, we're pushing everything digitally. And so this will help with our process. We know it's a difficult time, but we want to make sure that we move this process along so that we can be ready for the first day of school. And so in addition, I did say we'll be sending out some more information about uniforms, times, right, and so forth, as well as schedules and what that's going to be looking like. And so this is going to be a marriage until the first day of school that's going to continue. And so we're going to be communicating with you families about important information. Please feel free to contact our school. In the email that we sent you with the links, there is our school phone number and also a parent support email if you have any questions. We're here for you. And I really appreciate you taking the time to go through this orientation with us. I would have loved to have this in person. It's really our opportunity to get to know our new families, see your familiar faces who come back to us. And so what I can tell you is that we are missing all of you, and we want to welcome you to the Bert Corona family. I'll be sticking around if you have any other questions, but I want to thank you on behalf of myself and Ms. Heredia. Thank you so much for your support in this. This was our first virtual orientation. We appreciate you being here, and we'll be having another one, a similar session on the 28th and inviting our other families. But this was our first run at using this platform, and so I want to thank you for being here with us.
We have 3 questions.
All right.
One is asking if they will need to complete a paper packet for the upcoming school year.
Yeah, so great question. So these are the forms that I've been referring to in School Mint. They're getting prepared digitally. And so what's going to happen is, my understanding from School Mint, you're going to get a message. So, hey, these forms are now available, and families, you're going to have to fill them out online. And so if you need support with any of that, of course, we can set up a time with our main office team to help you support with that. But that's how, so the hard copy part, we're kind of going to move away from that in many ways because we have to. And now using School Mint is a system that we are using. And so that's going to allow us to get this information to our parents digitally. We will message you, letting you know that they're now available. And then your next step, parents, it will be to fill these out. Okay.
The next question is the date for when the new school year will begin.
So currently we are scheduled to start Wednesday, August 12th. Okay. Wednesday, August 12th. We are having conversations with our Think Together after school program. We usually do a summer bridge where our 5th graders and 6th graders come onto campus. We get them acclimated to the campus, where their classes are going to be, introduce them, get their emails set up and do some light testing. But we're probably going to have to do that in a virtual setting. Is what conversations we're going to have, and that usually starts a week before. But we will let our families know when that will happen. But the first day of instruction for fall 2020 is Wednesday, August 12th.
And there's one more question. No, two more.
Okay.
It says, I always like to buy uniforms before the school year starts. Where will I be able to purchase?
Yes, great question. And so our uniform, we have normally did it in the summertime. It's been about a week. We're going to send our parents information about when that's going to be, because normally it would be, we would have designated times, and we would have, well, Miss Aurelia can tell you, it could be a lot of people in a room. That can't happen anymore. And so we're going to have to spread that out and kind of think through our logistics for that. And so we usually host it during the summer in the month of July, right, Miss Aurelia? It's a month before school starts.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so families, we will let you know about those dates, our procedures for that, because we have to think those through in this environment. But we usually have done it a month before school, in the month of July. You come in, you purchase your uniforms, you fill out a meal application, and then you're on your way. But now, we have to logistically, to be so that everyone is safe, have to think about what that's going to look like this summer. All right. So we will keep you posted. Great question. We will keep you posted.
So the next question is, how will students know their class schedule for the first day of school? School Mint?
Well, I can tell you what we've done before. We would post them up on campus, and students would have they would know what class to report to their first period, and in their first period, they would receive their class schedule. So that's how we would do it. I imagine we'll probably do something similar. But again, that depends. Once we get our schedules, our school schedule for the year, we'll send that information out to families. So the short answer is this: when your student starts the first day of school, they will report to a designated classroom, and in that designated first classroom is when they'll receive their schedule. All right, and so that's one. I think that answers the question. Is there another question, Ms. Heredia?
Yes. Fifth graders do not have class periods, right? The class periods start until sixth grade.
Sixth grade has. Sixth grade has. Yeah.
I think they're asking is if fifth grade also travels to different classrooms, or if that happens until they get to sixth grade.
Yeah, normally until they get to sixth grade. Our fifth graders this year, they did have a SFA class, which is our reading intervention program, and so they may have been been put in another classroom with sixth graders, or depending on their level. And so they went to their SFA class. It could have been, and they also had an advisory class, but the rest of their classes were in one classroom with Miss Bravo. So that's how it was this past year. Where, again, part of our scheduled conversation is that which classrooms we are going to have or provide for, which classes we're going to provide for students. And so at the most, fifth graders may have two classes, an SFA class and their content classes with Miss Bravo, who's our fifth grade teacher. And then in sixth grade is, again, when you have your other classes.
Mr. Castillo, looks like I skipped a question.
Okay.
They're asking if the polos and the sweatshirts have to have the school logo.
Yeah, it's a good question. We do require for our polos to have our school logo. It's the Bert Corona logo and the White Pix logo. And so, yes, they are required to.
And they are asking if the school will provide students with lunch and if they
Yeah,
will provide breakfast in class.
yeah, this is a great question. I actually was in a webinar with the Department of Education, Nutritional Services, and schools are having to plan around what is lunch, what are meal programs going to look like in schools. And so, prior to the pandemic, we did offer breakfast, we did provide lunch and snack in our after-school program. I know we will continue to provide our meal program. Um, what that's going to look like, I do not know. All right, we are going to follow CDE guidelines for meal programs, and so we will let our families know what that's going to look like. And so, but prior to pandemic, we did provide breakfast in the classroom, we did provide lunch, and we did provide a snack program. So we will let our families know what that's going to look like in this new um, in this new fall season.
I believe that's all the questions we have right now.
Okay. Well, parents, I want to thank you for your wonderful questions, for being here with us and going through this. This was our first time hosting this virtual orientation. A lot of great questions, and so I really appreciate all the questions that you asked. And please be on the lookout for more communication here on out through School Mint about important information. And so we are with you in this. Our families, it just gives me chills about all the families that I've been able to be in contact. We've been able to be in contact with our families who continue to support YPI charter schools, and so we're in this with you. Please reach out to us if you have any questions on that email. It gives you the number to our school, and there's a parent support email if you have a question. It's parentsupport@coronacharter.org. That's on that, and so feel free to reach out to us if you need anything. Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, another question. Yes.
If because of the pandemic we can't go to the first day of school, will the kids and teachers communicate by Zoom?
I know in part of the exploration of schedules, there may be a day of distance learning. So we're using our distance learning program now through Google Classroom, and it's our way that our teachers are communicating. And just like other schools are using Zoom, what have you. Every school has had to put into place a distance learning program, and we'll continue to use ours. If and when it's needed. But we'll let our family know what that's going to look like once our schedules come out. And so what you'll notice too, just in addition to that, we did ask a question in the Google form. If your student has a computer, and we also want to know if your student has access to the internet, because we have to prepare for that. Getting text messages, I gotta turn this off.
I don't see any more questions.
All right. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and end our session. Great questions, parents. I want to thank Miss Olivia. Could not have done this without you. You did a wonderful job. And so looking forward to our next run at this, okay? With that, families, have a good night. Please reach out to us if you have any further questions, all right? Thank you guys so much.